So the link for the workshop 3 will be for 4 as well.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, I didn't send you a link for it. Yes, I can do that. Same link. We'll keep it easy.
Oh no, yeah, no worries, no worries. Oh yeah, you have the wrong number. There you go. So go ahead and sit in the drum drop. I think we did. Hey, Paul, did we don't the light switch? They give you a little light.
Uh-huh. What's wrong? Yeah, they can see you.
What was going on there?
Oh.
Huh? We are.
Grab a worksheet and a green pen. And a green pen. And what's the green pen? You are. Come on in, guys, have a seat, have a seat. All right, go ahead, grab a seat. I'll mute myself. Oh, yeah. Excellent. So good morning. Welcome to our jazz band workshop, especially those of you guys who are logging in. Appreciate you being here to share this experience with us. Let me speak to the class first, and then I'll give an intro and then hand it over to our artists. So for all of our students, you all have a white piece of paper and a green piece of paper. By the end of class, make sure that you have completed the white piece of paper. That's your worksheet, just to make sure that you are engaged throughout the entire performance. And then also on the green piece of paper, this is like one of my favorite parts. The green piece of paper is for you to write a question that we can ask the artist in real time because they are performing live from Kelvin Wooten Studios. So this will be a great chance. So if they say something, share something, demonstrate something, play something that is of interest to you, and you wanted to ask anything that is musically related or anything that is related to Black History Month, feel free to ask them. They have been really great with the other two classes. I encourage you to take advantage of that. So at the end of class, I will take the white sheet before the green pieces of paper. As soon as you guys get a question, I'll walk around and grasp those because then we can ask that during the time that they're going to be performing for class. Are there any questions about that? And yes, they can see you. Whenever you are applauding them, you can wave like towards either the TV or you could wave here to the laptop. Yeah, and I was also going to tell you, since they are on Zoom, obviously, you know, you have to be super animated on Zoom so it can translate. So when you guys give applause, I know it's going to be coming with a resounding sound from you. Make it huge so that they can see you guys moving, because otherwise this doesn't really translate. Okay, so without further ado, any questions? We good? We good? All right. So without further ado, we have two phenomenal guest artists today for our first annual jazz band workshop. I'm very honored to welcome to the screen and to the stage Kelvin Wooten, who is a Grammy-nominated artist, and he has performed for many years with phenomenal artists. So he has done lots of recordings and producing with artists ranging from Jill Scott, an R&B singer, to Anthony Hamilton, J. Cole, Chris Blue, who was on The Voice. He has an incredible track record. I have had the pleasure of seeing him do the first two jazz band workshops, and it has really been astounding seeing how many instruments he plays, even though I just started off thinking he played piano, but you will see that this dude is multi-talented. And then also to the stage, we're welcoming our very own Marcus Pope. He is our percussion specialist, and he comes to work with our students every single week. But one thing that I think we might not have automatically known is just how great of a track record Marcus Pope has as well, with phenomenal artists, like especially in the gospel world. He has performed for Kirk Franklin, for Yolanda Adams. He's even performed for Wynton Marsalis's father, Ellis Marsalis. I mean, it just goes on and on. I remember when I first moved here from Nashville, I was having a little bit of I guess, remorse, thinking I was leaving Music City. And then I heard Marcus Pope play with his friends in his studio. And I was like, hey, music is here, the soul is here, and it's very, very much alive. So without further ado, we are gonna welcome to the stage Kelvin Wooten and Marcus Pope. Take it away.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, good. Because I was about to start it. Right. It's a good, important question. Almost there. Turn you up a little bit? Yeah.
Hello, 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 and hello.
Hello, hello.
Are we still clapping?
So I saw Karen. I said, man, Karen is not impressed at all.
Look,
This is still
right.
big.
We're looking at Karen's like, man, she's just sitting there grinning the whole
not
entire
impressed.
time.
She's
Like,
not
not impressed at
Not
all, but that's a
impressed
picture. Yeah.
She might not be impressed, but we don't know.
Right, right. Oh, that's Miss Norrell. Hey, Miss Norrell. All right. So, it's so good to see you guys. Man, this is like early in the morning for us. I'm normally teaching, which is cool. But man, trying to be creative like this at 8 o'clock is like is really hard. But we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. I got my hat on because it's cold and it's rainy outside. But we trying to warm up. We trying to warm up. Trying to warm up. All right. So here's the deal. So what we just did, we don't know what we did. We was creative. I have a little electronic pad here that I created my particular sounds and grooves from, and I felt like playing this type of rhythmic pattern, an Afro-Cuban type of groove, and so Kelvin Wooten said, well, hey, you playing that, let me just do this. So what we just did was all just off the top. There wasn't no rehearsal. We didn't say we're doing this many bars of this or this many bars of that. We just did what we did, and yeah, voila, there you have it. That is part of the word I want to talk about is communication. Communication is so important in this society now. A lot of times we communicate through cell phones, through text messages, through emails. When I was a kid, my mom and daddy used non-verbal communication, meaning that when I got in trouble, they didn't have to say anything. They just looked at me crazy. It was like, okay, I know what to expect when I get home. So that's the type of communication that I grew up with. And in music, you have those same type of characteristics in communicating. A lot of times we communicate with our eyes, with our ears. We listen, we hear what the next person is going to do, and we kind of have a gut feeling like, hey, I think we're going to change right here, or I think we're going to play this particular pattern. So we are communicating musically, and the way you come up with that is that you have to spend time with an artist to know how the artist is. Me and Kelvin Wooten grew up together. We've been together since middle school?
Yeah, I've been knowing you since 6th, 7th grade.
Yeah. And so all that time we've been creating music.
And we're seniors in high school now, so I mean.
Yeah, that's right.
It's been a while.
Right, well, and then we did college together and all that stuff. So all that.
You missed it.
I missed it.
So we're just seniors in high school.
Oh, we just seniors in high school. See, my hearing is bad. I'm getting old. But I missed all of that. But we grew up together musically, playing a lot, so we kind of know each other without even communicating, or without looking at each other. So we kind of know each other in that regards. So with that being said, this is about jazz. Where did jazz come from? Where did jazz come from? Where it's American. It's American made, but we grab some ideas from Africa. And so let me tell you a little bit about that. In Africa, what we used to do back in those days, in that time frame, is that we celebrated everything. We celebrated birth. We celebrated piercings. We celebrated growing crops. We celebrated everything, and the way we did it, we used African drums for that celebration. And that's why to this day right now you have like birthday parties, any type of event that you have, you always have music because it was all about celebrating. It was all about celebrating. So in Africa, what they used to do is they had these drums and we would play these particular rhythmic patterns, and so people would dance, people would just have a great time because once again, It was all a celebration, and it was all communicated. It was all communicated. One of the drums that we used to play in Africa is a talking drum. This is a talking drum. And a lot of times we would communicate if we didn't want the slave masters to hear what we were discussing. We would use talking drums. And the way this drum is played, you put it under your arm, you squeeze, and you play it. So that could have meant, hey, go get me some bread. Go get the milk, okay? That means, hey, you're in trouble. I don't know what that meant, but I mean, they had different type of pitches and different type of rhythmic patterns that they would come up with to mean certain codes. I mean, this could have meant, you know, it's time to take a bath. I mean, I don't know what that meant, but they would use these particular drums to communicate. So imagine this, if everybody in the African tribe had drums and they was in different places. So what would happen is, if all of them came together and they was playing different rhythmic patterns, I mean, it would sound like really cool. Where we come up with call and response. A lot of times I do this at school, you know, when the kids are rowdy and everybody's talking and blah, 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 and instead of screaming out loud saying, be quiet, yeah, instead of doing that, you'll do like a, and they will respond, chop, 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 chop. So what will happen is, if you do that in class, all the chatter will stop because now you got their attention. So they're listening. Kids are listening. I'm like, oh. And so that's a way to keep the chatter down in school. So that's what they did in the African tribe. They did like call and response. They'll play a call and then they will respond. So that's the way they communicated. That's how we do it here in music. We play different patterns, we listen to each other, and we communicate that way. That's why we have band directors. Band directors come and they conduct, and they're communicating to the instrumentalists, hey, I want more right here. You know, I want less right here. You're too loud. You know, you're too soft. I need more. I need more. So it's all about communicating. One of the patterns that they did play, they use this drum called a doombek.
Doombek.
Doombek. Can y'all say that? Say doombek.
Doombek.
Woo! I heard that. Yeah. So let me tell you. Let me give you a sound. Let you hear what this sounds like. They will play these African rhythms, and it sounds a little bit like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna join in. Had to watch your hands in the
You
last
have to wash your hands on this one. You got something to say?
Oh, no, I have nothing to say.
Thank you,
fun.
thank you.
I also wanted to just kind of reiterate, too, the whole aspect of nonverbal communication. We had a little verbal communication there only because I needed some for this in the morning. But usually, me and Marcus will be in situations where we play, and it'll be, we could go on for 30 minutes and not say a word to each other and just play, and the music evolves and takes all kinds of different shapes and forms. So that's one of the things of nonverbal communication and aptitude in music, knowing the style of what you're doing, for one, and knowing the people that you're playing with, you know. It's obviously, you know, we're in a good mood, we're in good spirits, and I know Marcus and we're great friends, so that also lends itself to making good music as well.
Absolutely.
If we weren't, it would be a lot less communication, a lot less. We would have to easily follow a script. So that's a lot of times you get them in an orchestra, there's a 30-piece orchestra. I don't have to be friends with the tuba player. I don't have to be friends with the guy next to me. I don't have to be friends with the drummer. We have a script.
Yeah.
We just read the music. But in a situation like this, it takes a little bit more camaraderie, a lot more, you know, of that thing that's necessary to make inspirational and improvisational music.
Improvisational music, yeah. And that's very important. A lot of times when we're playing, we use a word called improvisation. I think there was a couple of questions about how do you improv? How do you improv on music? What is the steps to take to do that? And a lot of it comes from here. Like I say, back in the African days and in the tribal, what they used to do is all the grooves that they played, a lot of times they didn't transcript or transcribe into this. It wasn't like that we wrote it out on paper and be like, oh, they playing this pattern, they're using the right hand, left hand, oh, we're in the key of G. It wasn't like that. It was everything that they played, it came from the heart. So it's really hard to kind of to explain improvisation back in that time because a lot of it just came from here. You know, when they played, they just played with a lot of energy, with a lot of passion. And so that's really hard to teach somebody that form of improvisation. And with that being said, here's another drum that they use to improv on, and this thing gets heavy. My back is no good. But anyway, this is called...
And it looks a little bit...
like the doumbek.
Like the doumbek. I just really realized that,
Yeah. So the doumbek is smaller. Yeah. This is bigger. This is called a djembe. Djembe, and it's spelled with a D. So D-J-E-M-B-E. Djembe. Now the doumbek is D-O-U-M-B-E-K. Yeah. So they're part of the same family. Play that one. That one has a more higher pitch, and this one has more of a lower pitch. So now this is really cool. This is a really cool drum because this drum was all about bringing people together. So when it was time to have a party, to have a big shindig, as we would call it, the guy would come out and would just play patterns. When you hear that, oh, it's time to get dressed. It's time to put your clothes on, and it's time to go out here and have a wonderful time. And so what happens when you hear this djembe, which it means together, bringing people together, people will come, and it's like, oh, it's time to have a good time. Let's see what we can come up with for playing the djembe and the doumbek. Let's see the different sounds we got. Respond. His turn. I respond.
No fair. I'm not that good.
We're trying to show out here. Yeah. So, but you can hear the different sounds between the djembe and the doumbek. Okay? So
this doumbek also I want to make mention of. This doumbek was donated by Pope School of Percussion to the Woodworks studio.
Yeah.
So I have this doumbek, and this is probably the most I've played this doumbek that I've played it. Other percussionists have come in and used it.
yeah, absolutely. And,
But for me, yeah.
and I want it back, but he won't give it back to me. So.
Yeah, that's and that will be correct.
Yeah. So let me tell you what happens after this. So after all the call and response, all is migrated to New Orleans. New Orleans. Okay, New Orleans. So they took the African grooves that was played in Africa and brought it to New Orleans, and New Orleans put a swing and a twist to all of this. And this is how we're going to get to jazz. I know I'm going all the way around, but this is how we get to jazz. They put a little twist to it. So the twist, in New Orleans, they added a swing. So let me tell you something called a second line. Second line. You're going to hear this a lot, especially if you go to New Orleans. A second line is an event where they have brass bands, and they do what they call a second line dance. Okay? They do this particular dance. It's a certain groove that we're going to demonstrate, that we're going to play. And when you play the groove, they do the second line dance. Now, let me tell you when they do this dance. It's kind of odd and awkward. They do it at funerals. So after somebody die, here we go again. Here's a celebration and a communication. They die and they celebrate. Now, they're not celebrating because the person is dead. Yeah, because normally you're crying and stuff, but they're celebrating the life and legacy of that person. And they think about, all the great memories. And then after that, they take the body, which is a little weird, they take the body and they march to the gravesite with a brass band. And they're not playing slow songs and songs that'll make you cry and all that stuff. No, they are actually what they call second line. They're dancing to the gravesite. They are dancing to the gravesite. So what we're going to do, we're going to play a second line for you to kind of give you an idea of what a second line groove entails.
Move a microphone over here to the station. Right. Okay.
There we go.
Let me close.
Let me start it off. when I say, oh, when I say,
Yeah.
Did y'all enjoy that one?
Well, speakers it out. All right, all right.
Did y'all enjoy that? Awesome.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, we got any questions?
I'm coming. All right.
All right.
And also too, I want to make those that are watching us virtually from elsewhere, some of the faculty members, to feel free to put some questions in the chat as well. I'll try to moderate as much as I'm moving around here. Too.
And so before you ask the
Hey,
question,
come on over here. I'm gonna get you in that shot there. Yeah.
before you ask the question, Dr. Charles. So let me tell you this a little bit about what we just did. So in New Orleans, when we talked about the brass band, normally, drum-wise, they would have a bass drum player, they have a snare drum player, then they have a cymbal player, and they will march, and it'll be like a three-piece percussion section. Well, you know, I'm the three pieces, so I played, I played all of it. So I get paid more money because I did all of it. I did the bass drum. No, actually, I did four things. I played, and I've never sung before, so I'm the vocalist too. So so I get paid really good. Yeah. So, but and that is hard to do, is to play and sing at the same time. But they will march with three pieces of drums: a bass, a snare, and then the cymbal player.
Right.
Where in this case we have a trap set, where
And I'll aim the camera so you guys can see a little bit more what Marcus is talking about.
hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have the bass drum, the snare drum, hi-hats, which is a cymbal, another cymbal in the four-tom there. And so jazz, also in this mic this way too, jazz kind of helped invent that art form of the second line being brought to a one-person instrument.
Absolutely. Yeah. So absolutely. So the second line, like I said, you have those three pieces, but when you start playing jazz and jazz trios, it was hard to get three people to play in a jazz band. Like, okay, you play the bass drum part, you play the snare, you play this. No, they put all that into one instrument to create a trap set, is what we call it. And one person can play all three parts versus having three separate parts. One person can play that. And that's one of the things that you learn in being a percussionist. You should be able to play multiple instruments all at one time.
And I also want to point out too, like even with the instrument that I'm playing, you know, I'm mainly a piano player, bass player. It's kind of how I migrated from tuba to playing bass, because it's the same functionality in whatever you know situation you're in. It's a foundational root of the note, root of the chord. But that's how you think too. The double bass in classical music was then used in jazz.
That's right. You know? Absolutely. That's right.
So
That's right.
The functionality from the tuba and
to the upright bass.
To the upright bass. And this is before the electric bass, like what you guys heard when we did in the other African illustration. I have an upright bass. I don't have it here inside of the studio because we already got too much going on.
Got too much stuff in here already.
But the upright bass, kind of migrated from classical music into jazz.
To what it is now. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. We can talk all day. Okay. Questions.
This is great. Yeah, I love all of the things you guys are sharing. So it was funny that you mentioned that because your soul percussion student said, "Mr. Pope sings." So that was
Ben. Is that Ben?
Yes.
Yeah. And once again, I promise you, I promise you, singing out in public like I just did, y'all need to archive that because that would never happen again. Yeah, I just want to let y'all know that y'all are the first to ever seen that happen. Yeah.
Well, we also had a question about like jazz in particular, and several students have asked this, like, what are some defining characteristics about jazz? You guys have already touched a little bit on it, but is there one thing that makes it jazz, or is there a list of things?
I would say the most defining thing about the genre of jazz is improvisation. You know, it is the skill of being able to, I don't want to say, I guess for lack of a better term, fly by the seat of your pants, but, you know, there is, you know, a lot of times when you hear the jazz stuff, it tunes people out when they start hearing like a lot of weird, it just sounds like a lot of that, but really there's a lot of structure to it musically. And so the most defining thing I would say that's about jazz is that it's improvisational, meaning that you have knowledge of scales, chords, the musical form, all of those things, but being able to improvise over that as well. And we'll show you guys that later in some illustrations when we play like a 12-bar blues and things of that nature. But that's like, to me, that I can see that's pointed out is improvisation.
Yeah, and for me it's more of style because jazz, I mean, it's a lot. You can take a classical piece of music and put a jazz swing to it. Mm-hmm. You can take a hip hop song and make it jazz,
or a rock song,
or a rock song, you know, and you can put a different style to it. Now, what do I mean by style? You got swing, you got ballads, which means something slow. You got the Latin side, so you got all these different components that make up jazz. So I mean, it's a lot of things that you can put into this Kool-Aid, I would say, to make it real nice and sweet. That makes sense.
What was the first song you all played together when you first opened it up? They were asking if you remember why was that song significant? Why'd you start with that?
Oh, so the first song was something actually that's special to these presentations. We've never played that particular thing anywhere other than we started with that presentation yesterday, right?
Yes, yes.
And we just started going. Lift Every Voice. Oh, so Lift Every Voice and Sing kind of was the beginning of that. And Marcus has a little bit more depth on the origins of that song. I just know, yeah, you do. You don't know that you do, but you do. But, you know, it's one of those things that especially every time, around this time every year, it's one of those songs that every voice and sing.
It's the National Negro Anthem. Is that what they call it? What we call it. And normally Black History Month, we always would sing the song. Like a lot of times when we have like different church services for the whole month of February, most churches, and I hate to say predominantly black churches, but predominantly black churches will open up with the National Negro Hymn, which is Lift Every Voice and Sing. So what we did was, I didn't know that Mr. Kelvin Wooten was going to start there. I didn't know what he was going to do because he has a lot of different instruments and different sounds coming from the keyboard. So he felt like playing it. It was like, oh wow, that's a moment right there.
And then we kind of morphed into something, you know, after, you know, to not just make that too long, but we just kind of morphed into something else that wound up being just something special to these presentations.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Can you tell us how they have so many good questions, so I'm having to pick. Okay, so I'll ask you back to back and then let you guys take it from there or whatever you want to do. When did you first know that you wanted to pursue music as a career? And what challenges have you faced as a Black person in the music industry?
That's two great questions. So for me, I'm going to be completely honest. What made me want to decide to do music now, I've always loved music since I started in middle school. I started playing tuba in middle school, and it just ignited something in me that I can just now know that I'm so glad that I wasn't athletic and I didn't play basketball, football, baseball. I'm glad that I love playing the tuba. And so, but the first moment that I realized, to be honest, I'm glad this question was asked, that I realized that I wanted it as a career is when I got my first royalty check from being a producer. And I said, okay. I was 19 at the time. I said, okay, yeah, it's foregone conclusion that I'm going to be a musician. And this is what, if this is what I can do. Now, I didn't know that the musical landscape would change so much from that time. That was the mid-90s up until now. But I'm still here and loving it and being blessed and fortunate. Now, I think to answer the second question, being a black person, what's significant about it for me? Well, one thing, I have no choice. to be a black musician, really, honestly, and so what I learned to do is be able to appreciate just culturally, the things. Me and Marcus, we were raised in church. I don't want to go too far into his answer, but raised in church and culturally being brought up in a black church, and man, this was our exposure to all of this music. This is really one of the things that got me interested. Although I played tuba starting out, my interest in music was the church. So I appreciate that and the value that it brings culturally to me, and that even with jazz, knowing jazz has me so abreast to many different styles of music. Yeah.
I kind of went down the same path. I kind of knew I was going to be a full-time musician when my dad was bringing records, jazz records to the house when he got off work, and gospel records. And school work for me was really, my school years was really rough. It was really rough because I just never could just focus and just get my work done. It wasn't that I wasn't smart, but it wasn't interesting to me. So what happened, Dad would bring jazz records and gospel records to the house, and that just lit the house up, from my mom to my brother to my sister. And it was here we go again, it was a celebration. Like, man, this is really cool. And I wanted to know how to create that sound for other people. Because if you notice, music, and let's not even say jazz, I mean, even jazz is a component, but music brings people together. Regardless if you black, white, if you Jew, if you Gentile, if you a rabbi, whatever the case you may be, music always brings people together. Why do you think, if you think about it, that at Randolph we have a spring concert every year? And what happens? Parents, grandparents, everybody come to see their child play on stage because music brings people together. So I wanted to be that person to be like, man, I want to bring people together, and I want people to be happy around my presence in the music that I make. So same thing happened to him with Mr. Wooten. I did one studio session. I never forget it. It was in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and it was an artist out of Australia. I don't know this guy. I don't even know him. I don't think he knows me. But they asked me to lay some percussion parts and some drum stuff parts down, and I'm not going to. Well, I'll go into to how much. So the session paid $750 a song. And
this was when?
And this was in 92. $750 a song, and we did 12 songs. Okay, 12 songs at 750. Yeah, so you do the math. And that was only, we tracked for 2 days. The first day was 4 hours. The second day was 4 hours, and that was it. And I was like, oh crap! Like, this is how much money I can make. Now, once again, that wasn't an everyday thing. Now, that wasn't an every week thing. But at that particular point, it made me feel like my calling was to pursue music. So with that being said, doing some tours, going to see the world and playing in front of people and making people happy. Oh my God, it's one of those feelings that you just don't I mean, it's just I can't describe it. Indescribable, you know. And it's one of those things that I'm always happy. I'm in my happy place when I hear music. And here's the thing: if you don't like music, I feel sorry for you, because everywhere you go, you're gonna hear music.
Yeah.
Go to the mall, go to the grocery store. You're gonna hear some kind of form of music playing. So that is my happy place. That is my happy place. And regardless if I made $10,000 one month in doing records, or if I made, $100, I'm still happy. Now I'm able enough to know that I went back to school to get a degree in music, so I can teach to support my family. But music is like my happy place, and I love it. I love it. Was that okay?
That was great. That was great. Yeah, is that okay, guys?
Was that okay? Ask Ben, was that okay?
Ben, is that okay? He just said, He may change his opinion. I'll gather some more questions, but if you guys wanted to play something or whatever you want to do or share something, that would be awesome. And I'll gather more questions.
This dude was talking about 12-bar blues.
All right, so one of the things in jazz, we'll do some illustrations here too. Swing it over there. One of the things in jazz, one of the forms of music is called the 12-bar blues. Marcus mentioned to me, you said something about a C jam blues.
C jam blues, yeah.
Yeah. Something that you guys were learning and talking about, but in the blues form, because blues is now a particular part of. Hey, we got somebody else there. A particular part of jazz. Some want to argue that gospel came before blues or blues became before gospel, but a lot of the draw from jazz started from a blues context and form, meaning there was a 12 bars. So like in this case, I'm going to turn one of these mics off so it doesn't feed back. Like in this case, we have the blues, a 12 bar form. So say we're in the key of C. So we start on the 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees of, or 7 degrees of a scale. So first degrees would be 1. And we go up to the 4, and there's a chord there, and we add back to the 1. And we have the 5 and the 1. So in making a progression in it with 12 bars, we have now into the 5, back to the 1. So now we're going to put a jazz swing to it. Let me pull up my bass here too. I'm playing double duty with. I'm playing bass and I'm playing these other things at the same
So
time.
now watch this while he's pulling that up. So once again, style. This is what I talked about earlier. Now we have to figure out what style do we want to play this 12-bar blues. Do we want to play it as a bossa nova? Do we want to play it as a ballad? Do we want to play it as a swing?
So,
Or do we want to play it as a hip hop? It's still going to be 12-bar blues.
so that's a good thing to try, Marcus. So we'll start out as a swing.
Okay.
And just without telling me, you can switch to the different styles. And once I hear, and this is called improv too, once you switch to a different style, I'll just try to hear and try to go to that style. I mean, you can go Afro-Cuban, you can go samba, bossa nova, hip hop.
Okay. So here we go. Communication. That's what we talked about earlier, right? So here's how we're going to
Non-verbal.
communicate. Now, I don't know how this is going to turn out, so don't hold it against us, but we're going to see what's going to happen. Here we go.
Yeah. As you guys can hear and kind of see, Marcus took us on a journey through a lot of different styles musically.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of looking at his drums. I'm like, okay, what's he gonna do next? I mean, he could have went as bizarre as he, stretch it as far as he wanted to. But that's a kind of a sense of us improvising.
Right.
But again, you guys still heard the form of the 12-bar blues.
Right.
It was a 12-bar pattern that it just rotated.
Over and over again.
We just did like a recursive loop. And then it's kind of like the ending. It's kind of like a signature kind of ending in jazz. That rhythm, ba, 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 da, ba, ba. And your hands kind of land where the chords land. Questions?
Questions? And do we got time to play a ballad, or you want questions now?
No, we do. We have like a little shy of 20 minutes left. Yeah, you want to play your ballad? I think that's great.
Okay, cool.
Let's do a ballad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this ballad we're gonna do has a bit of a swing. You know what? Matter of fact, when we get to the bridge, let's swing it.
Okay.
So just kind of, yeah.
That right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this ballad is written by and was performed by African American composer, Duke Ellington. Really popular tune of his called "In a Sentimental Mood."
Now, with that being said, this is another style. You remember the first style we talked about was swing. We went to the African type grooves. Now, this is a ballad. So anytime you hear the word ballad, that means slow love song. This is the perfect time to play ballads, because what's coming up on Saturday? Not Saturday, Sunday. What's happening Sunday? Valentine's Day. So
you got somebody really excited about it.
Yeah, so somebody's really excited about it. So if you got your girlfriend now, play a ballad. Don't play nothing fast. Don't play that.
Don't play what we just did.
Yeah, don't play what we just did. Play a ballad. Real nice love song. Okay? All right, here we go.
Thank you so much. That was In a Sentimental Mood. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. So we kind of talk a little bit too about kind of what's going on here in the studio. I'm mainly a piano player. Marcus is a percussionist. We play. Marcus reminded me that he also started out on tuba. I think when I met him, that's what he was playing.
Actually, I was. Yes, I did.
I think we switched roles and switched positions in the musicality. But in here, a lot of what I do is electronic. There's a lot of electronic stuff going on, and what you hear now, you hear the piano. You really can't see it in one of the shots, but in the main shot you can see. I have an 88-key keyboard controller, and it's basically just controlling all of the sounds that are in my computer, which you cannot see. I also have this little turquoise keyboard here that's controlling sounds as well. That's where my upright bass comes from. And I'm gonna switch this mic over. And you hear the upright bass, and you hear the piano. You heard the orchestra at first. You heard the marimba. All those sounds are all actually real sounds being triggered and being manipulated by the keyboard. So, and there's all types of controllers. I mean, this is a controller too. It controls and triggers things, and boy, it's a lot of stuff in here. I wish I could go around.
I'll tell you one cool thing that I want Mr. Wooten to demonstrate.
Mm-hmm.
So, like movies, when they do movie scoring, a lot of times producers cannot afford like the orchestra, the string players, because they're very expensive. But they have what they call plugins, which is what he's using to create a symphony sound. And you would think that those are real players playing, but one person can do the job and save a ton of money.
Yeah.
You want to demonstrate that?
Yeah, and also too with the same tool, when they can afford an orchestra, sometimes the composer use these tools to create their pieces that then will later be played by the orchestra. So a lot of times they do it to get the producers like engaged. It's like, oh, here we hear an orchestra, so this will really sound good. So here's one particular plugin that I use. I use it in the the orchestra being manipulated by one person.
Put me in.
That was pretty impressive.
And watch this. So let's say, for instance, you need timpanis. You got me in.
Yep.
You need timpanis.
Okay, we're having fun.
Yeah, we're having too much fun.
We're having too much fun.
Yeah. But you see how all this works. I mean, it's in the palm of your hands. We can create, all kind of stuff.
And also want to bring in too that again, we are still improvising.
Yep.
It's still, there's no piece of music that I was playing, and I mean, if had given a little bit more thought, it could be a little bit more elaborate. But this is just ad-libbing. The wonderful thing is having those tools to be able to do it with. But still, once me and Marcus could come up with something just orchestral, just using non-verbal communication and improvisation.
And also knowing, check this out. Now here's a teach point right here. Knowing your scales. Yeah, knowing your scales. Knowing your rudiments. Because everything that we're playing is scale-based. Everything that we playing is scale-based.
Yep.
And percussion, everything is rudimental-based. So knowing your rudiments will allow you to become very creative. If you don't know your instrument, you will be lost as two left shoes. If you put on two left shoes, you are totally lost. All right.
So I think we have time for one more question, and then hopefully you guys play so we can hear you even more, because y'all have been fantastic. One, I think, new question. I don't think anybody else has asked this in all the other classes. So what advice would you give to an upcoming artist to get into the jazz music industry? Like if they want to take this professionally from school, what do they do?
What? You want to go ahead?
Well, I would say a lot of studying, a lot of research, a lot of practicing, because it's very, very competitive. Very, very competitive. You have to create your own style. Be yourself. Be kind to people. Be very kind to people. Be humble in what you have. Because I promise you, you heard all this. It's like, wow, they're incredible. But I guarantee you that there is somebody else out there that's doing even better and more than what we are doing. But we are ourselves. We're being ourselves, and it's so easy to be yourself. Study a lot, practice, study, practice, and get as much knowledge as you can. As much knowledge as you can. I would tell you this, you have to love it. You have to love it, then like it. And the reason why I say this is because even right now to this day, you think about it, playing live music right now is not happening because of COVID. So now you have to figure out, how am I going to generate income, to support my family, which I have 3 kids and a lovely wife. And how you going to do that? You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. So you have to love the music to know other revenue streams to make it. Because if you don't, it'll be very hard. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and pretty much my same thing that Marcus said. I have a wife and I have a daughter that is a 20-year-old and a senior, about to be a senior in college. So, hey, this stuff is it's a lot of fun to us, but it's also very, very real. But I would say more than anything, relationships and being very, very nice to people. If you really love jazz music and want to study it, that's the no-brainer. You're going to do that. But being really nice and kind to everyone, treating the person at the company that you go in, like that's mopping the floors, is treating them like you would treat the CEO. You generate that type of generosity and kindness. That thing will follow you just as well as you being a mean person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's my 2 cents.
Well, great. Well, is there anything else you all wanted to address? They have about 5 more minutes. Oh, and I'm seeing some questions in the chat. Let me make sure I give our online guests some opportunities to speak up. Yes, thank you, Miss Ausman, the 6th grade beginner band class. They said,
yeah, we see their comment here.
Hey, Miss Ausman, that's my class. Hey.
And that is so great. And we look forward to seeing you guys one more time this afternoon too. And then I think you all have answered several of the questions about distinct patterns and styles that you see in improv. The students right now at the upper school are getting some exposure to Duke Ellington. So we love that you guys played Sentimental Mood and
Awesome.
Blues. So we're going to let you all close it out. This has been fantastic.
Okay, so we're going to close out with a piece of we're going to improvise again, we've been doing that for the past couple of days, so we figured out why stop. So we're going to keep that going.
Oh yeah, and before I do, the whole class wants to say thank you on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. so excellent. All to you, Mr. Wooten.
The 6th graders in the art class.
Hey, 6th graders.
Yeah, so We're gonna let me get off of that.
And is that, you said that's the art class? Is that the art class over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, that's the MOB. I think
Hey,
I
you
got
guys.
my chat is covering them up. Yeah, let me.
Okay,
there
yeah,
we
that's
go.
the
There-
art class,
that's
and that's my 6th grade. Okay, 6th grade class. Awesome.
Yeah. Do your thing, do your thing, do your thing. I'm trying to get this bass trigger on that verse. Let's see. Thank you. Oh, fun and informative soundtrack in the business business office this morning. Thanks. Thank y'all, business office.
Thank you. You want to type back at that? Can you type back?
Y'all were incredible.
So how did you enjoy it?
No, I loved it. It was amazing. Oh, what about you, Miss Ausman?
Miss Ausman, did you enjoy it? Uh-oh.
I think a mic is.
Oh, you're still muted. It's okay.
I couldn't find the unmute button. Yes, this is the sixth grade beginner brass class, and it was a great surprise to be able to tune in. So thank you so much. They loved it.
Thank you.
I'll see y'all this afternoon. We're going to go have class.
Sounds good.
Awesome,
Thank you.
awesome.
Miss Ausman. Thank you, Miss Clark and Miss Fugit for coming. Vivian, you are all good to go. You can log off too. And the art class is still listening. That is awesome. Oh my gosh. And I see that my big head is on their screen. So I'm just going to change that. Mute myself and let Mr. Wooten and Mr. Pope, if you guys needed to say anything else, otherwise you give me the thumbs up to when to end.
We're good to go.
Yeah, we good. So give me what time should we go on at 12? It's 12:50, right?
Correct. So how about we get on, like I'll start logging on around 12:40, 12:45, just to make sure everything's all good to go.
Yeah.
And then that class will be kind of a little shorter. So it'll be from 12:50 to 1:45. So 55 minutes.
Okay, sounds great.
Cool. All right. You guys are awesome. We'll see you this afternoon. It's been amazing. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.